I'm very happy to have another young Indian with us today, smiling as usual. Uh, Amazingly, she's a non practicing lawyer. We'll find out what it means to be a non practicing lawyer. So, right now, we have with us Sanjana Gupta. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Sanjana.
Thank you, sir, for the short and lovely introduction. Whoever is listening to me across the globe, hi everyone, this is Sanjana. And as sir said that I'm a non-practicing lawyer, which just means that I am not litigating or professionally working in a law firm. But law as a subject is something I'm very passionate about. And I recently completed my master's in law as well. So that's how it is. Like coming a little closer to what am I here to discuss today, or maybe just do a bit of my monologue on, is something I themed as the art of not being prepared. Now, what is preparedness may mean very different to each individuals. For somebody, being prepared may be associated with just having certain clarity in thought, action, or inaction. For others, it may be more around the structures that being prepared brings to you, say planning, strategizing, or visioning. And for someone who might be just like me, it might just be something very difficult to deal with because I, as a child, grew up being very curious, but about very different multidimensional things. So even when I was in my adulthood, like right now I'm 27. So say when I was maybe entering my high school 11th and 12th, there were like ample of things that I used to like, but I was not sure how to fit them into one box. So I was not really prepared. And not having that preparedness or clarity or say planning, I started going with the flow with the life. Maybe that means picking one stream that everybody says is the most safe choice to go with, which is even today very relevant, that is science. So I opted for science. I did my plus two in science with a biology as a major, having no plans to become a doctor for sure, because I knew it like midway in my 11 that I cannot like really deal with sick people. Blood is not something I like to see on a daily basis, or injuries don't excite me. But however, brain as an organ, as a mechanism, is something I was always curious with. So that is some clarity that I got after my plus two got over, that okay, what I don't like is this and this, but what I like is something like this. Now, entering my college, I again was told by someone that, hey, you are good with multiple things. And since you don't know exactly what you want to do, why don't you choose law? Because law will offer you lots of opportunities to do whatever you want, and there'll be ample of subjects you can deal with. And again, it was also a dual degree. So that was a year where this integrated law course was getting introduced in India. And instead of doing your law after your graduation, people started giving options of dual degrees. So you can do two majors together in your bachelor's. And it seemed like a good choice. It was going to be a professional degree, 5 years straight into the college, and I'll be good to go, start working. And when we were, preparing for our entrance exams, I we used to study something called as tort and contracts. Now, tort as a subject is very hypothetical, I would say, in the most layman terms. Most of the situation that happen in the tort law may seem very real, but they are not actually actionable in the court of law. However, the whole dynamics of how that subject was made me feel very connected to it. Like it felt like, okay, this is a subject which can be used in all sorts of situations in my life. Again, the way I see preparedness, like I didn't know what to do with the subject. I was still not very clear as to how will I proceed further with it. But definitely there was one thing that was budding in me, which was this interest to understand the subject at a deeper level. Now, when I gave my entrances got through some colleges and finally picked the one that I would want to go in. We met good professors who, in our induction day, asked this one question to us, that why are we here? Why did we choose this course? Now, I think in a bunch of like 50 odd students, of which 30 to 40% came with this legacy, wherein their papa was a lawyer or their grandfather had a good law firm. So they knew that this is going to be the course of their life. Or else, other than that, there were people who might want to, pursue their career in corporates or immigration or just earn good money, and knew that law is one way to do that. There were two, three such odd voices which were very off the track again. One of them being mine. I happily stand up, a little aggressive in my tone and with a lot of like emotions. I tell my professor that I believe that law is a subject through which I can, provide justice not just to myself but my family and the entire society. And then the whole class was like, oh my God, what is she saying? Because nobody really understood where that context came from. And again, they were not prepared to hear something like that. So, definitely, I mean, law became something which made me relate a lot of fundamentals of life, I would say. Because even though we study different laws, say, be it contracts, crimes, or constitution, or competition law, or whatever, be it the company law, I think the crux of all these substantive matters is to correct something which is not right, or to enhance something which can be better. So that is that one principle I still hold very close to myself in my life even today. Like wherever I go, like whatever I associate myself with, I always try to ensure that once I enter the space and then when I leave it, I leave with a better self, and I also, enhance the space in some capacity. So this learning came while studying different subjects in the law stream. And even though while going ahead with the law, I did understand that, okay, money making is great, money is important. Uh, but if I have to pursue, say, litigation, I was not really prepared for it, considering that how the society is even today. Having a good lineage or a legacy or being a generation lawyer will always be a little more beneficial than being that first generation and just starting everything from scratch, because the growth is very slow. You need a lot of patience, and there are other politics which get involved. So again, like, I tried something and did not like it, so I left it. Something like that happened. And if you want to go into the corporate bit of law, which is all about earning good, but it leaves you with a lot of imbalance of things. Like, I used to hear people, working like 18 to 24 hours sometimes, or even 20 hours, who have good packages, but then no balance of this work, personal life, and everything in between. So again, and the whole goal of doing what they do is to just make big money, and no matter who their client is, just provide them some sort of a solution. So that is again where the justice bit comes to me. So for me, law will always be a subject that will always be neutral, impartial, and try to protect the ones who are, suffering, instead of ones who are the wrongdoers. So those things came to my mind, and I felt again like, okay, I am not prepared to see the world the way it is. So let's do something different. And I started interning with different non-profits for working for different social causes, primarily, say, livelihood or education or gender. So that became a space where I found a bit of that balance of things that I needed in myself to feel prepared for life, or to feel prepared as a professional. And I think the most exciting bit about this space is that it offers you a good balance of vision, and how to, work on certain things to make them better, and then also have a good sustainability out of it. So my clarity usually comes after trying things that I am not wholly prepared for, and then understanding that okay, this is the level of engagement that I can have in some sort of a space, and beyond that, I don't think I'm the right person to fit there, or some misalignment comes in, and I start feeling very unprepared. So coming back and trying to link it with the topic which I chose, that is the art of not being prepared. I feel like the fundamentals of it is just to, be open to trying new things in life. Now, in today's world, what generally happens is that, when we are young, मान लीजिए कि हम middle school से और आजकल के बच्चे तो even before, they start putting like a trajectory to their life, and a lot of it is influenced by parenting, by their schooling, by their peers, that you have this set trajectory that okay, if you're good at say playing soccer or football, then there's automatic roadmap of how do you become a good football player, and then you are just forced into those single streams. Like after a point, it becomes a forced choice. Initially you are enjoying because you feel that I'm good at it and I'm gaining a lot out of it, but say 3 4 years the line, that becomes a very mundane and monotonous. So the same thing happens in our careers or academics also today. The way the subjects are, combined are very linear in learning. There is not a lot of multidisciplinary studies even today in India. Like most of my context comes from how the Indian education system is, or how the Indian schooling is, or how the Indian society is. So the thought trajectory in people is very single directional. It's not very multi-directional, and it makes people like us feel unprepared on the out of it, because we feel like either we are not fit in the society, or else there is something that we're not doing right. But now slowly, when I'm growing older and I'm gaining more resources and more understanding of how it feels to be a certain way that I am, and what really being prepared or not prepared for your life generally means, I am understanding that being open to stuff is rather more good, because it gives me more grit, it gives me more resilience, it helps me understand different strengths and areas of developments, and more or less, it keeps that growth mindset alive in me. Like, I will now thoda sa link it with examples in my professional journey so far. So, like I said, that I'm not a practicing lawyer, which means that, uh, like when I was in my final year, I was doing my apprenticeship under an advocate, and I was litigating for almost a year and a half or so. And that's where the clarity came that okay, if I don't feel prepared to see myself 10 to 20 years down the line in this field for certain reasons that I shared previously in the call. And that's where I chose to pivot myself into the social development aspects, because those were the things that I was enjoying, and I was finding meaning in what I do over there. So again, I was not fully prepared to see myself in like years to go ahead, but I knew that for the time being, this still resonates a lot to my personality and the things I like to do. Um so I chose to do a fellowship, which is dominantly in the educational domain. So the vision of the fellowship was to work for children, so that the inequalities in education, especially coming from the students belonging to the low income strata, is challenged, and they also attain excellent education. So that was again a good fellowship, good time period. 2 years was sorted. It gave me lots of learnings about, you know, people, students, children, how they learn. I was able to satisfy that inner child in me who did not get enough mentorship in the school, or who did not have like good teachers to say by being that to those students that I taught. So again, that soul satisfying things happen. But over the end of my fellowship, I again began to feel a little unprepared, thinking that what next? Now this happened for 2 years, but I don't think I see myself being just a teacher for my life years ahead, because again that monotonous routine was something that I was not feeling okay with, like limiting myself to maybe a system or a subject or certain ways of being in the structures, what's something I'm not okay with. So I realized that okay, why not from non-profit part of education, let's try the for-profit bit of education, because by then I knew that education is still a puzzle piece I like to work on. It complements a lot of learnings that I got by studying law and management, and also the cause alignment that I used to look out for. And I joined a startup outside my home state. So that was the first time in my life where I really left my city to do something. All my schooling, everything had happened for the majority of years in Ahmedabad, which is also my home city. So again, I was not feeling so prepared as to what is going to come next. But this resilience inside me, which used to ensure that, okay, whatever happens, you will get through it, helped me settle myself very fast and build good connections over there, a good network. And few months down the line, due to certain hiccups within their organization, the startup was kind of failed because the idea did not really work out, and I was back into my city again, not feeling prepared. What next? So that what next, when I say not being prepared or the art of not being prepared, constantly makes me figure out this one two word thing, which is what next. And I have seen a lot of change while I figure this what next, from having those bouts of anxiety and depression where you feel like, okay, maybe you have figured all your life wrong, and the fact that you were just going with the flow is not really the way to be, and versus the people who plan things way ahead in time, when they know that, okay, साइंस के बाद अगर इंजीनियरिंग प्लस एमबीए करना है, या ह्यूमैनिटीज के बाद आईएससी बनना है, या कुछ भी करना है, is a better way to be, because at least your mind is fixed onto one thing, and you know that this is the trajectory you will follow. So these thoughts used to come a lot when such roadblocks happened to me, or when there was just this gap phases before doing something again. So yeah, um, there was a time when this startup thing happened. I was again all over the place for the first time in my life, where I started reflecting since my plus two, that okay, maybe it all started by choosing science. Maybe that was the first decision I made wrong. Why I did science? I should have just gone for humanities. At least those subjects were interesting and stuff like that. And this all stays till I find something better or new again. And the most recent workplace that I was with was basically working very close to the secretariat in our state, which is like the government of Gujarat. So the agency that I was associated with worked directly under the chief minister's office, and we were basically handling all the PR related activities for the government. And there were multiple international projects also that came last year, be it the Urban 20 or the G20, or and of course the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit. So I got the chance to play a very close role into these big different projects, and it just accelerated this confidence in me to a very different extent, because I was actually doing hardcore media and journalism without having a background in journalism or a practice in journalism, and I did it fairly well. Now, again, relating to the subject that I chose, somebody who told me that, हाँ law ले लो सब कुछ हो जाएगा, felt right to me at that moment, because actually somewhere through the discipline of law, I became good with my communications. I was good with my language. I was good with my people skills, and law teaches all that to you. Now, whether you do it while fighting in the court of law or you do it somewhere else, these are all transferable skills that the subject taught you. So that is the relation that I started building. And now when I'm again in a sort of a navigation break before I do something again, I see a lot of difference in just the way I deal with this transition. Because now I'm considering this as a healthy break, which all of us deserve. And that is where the main, focus of why I chose some topic like this and I blabbered something very random in it, is for people like us, my age or younger to me or even older to me, to understand one thing in life, that everything else can, just wait, but the time that you give to yourself is very important. uh, be it the 10 minutes of meditation that you do on a daily basis, or the walk you take in the park, to maybe going for traveling in different places, I think having some breaks, or this between time between all your transitions, is good and is important. because that helps you reflect a lot on who you are and what is your higher purpose of being. In the material world, we are all like flooded with a lot of outside force telling that okay, till 10 you study hard and your life will be sorted.
Mm.
Then 10 say you go to 12, 12 say you do your college, and then it just goes on and on and on. And then you're forced into this career, which again takes most of your life away. So, how do you find this between time? How do you feel okay with not feeling really prepared of what will come tomorrow, in the next moment, or in the weeks or days to come? Sometimes helps you know who you are beyond and beneath all of this. And
Mhm.
I feel, sir, you have something to share here, or say, or ask.
No, no, no. I'm listening intently. Go ahead. I'm
Okay,
listening.
okay. I would really want you to ask something now because my monologue will get over very soon.
Yeah, we
Using
finish
all
it.
my
Then we
content.
will talk. Finish it.
Yeah. So yes. So continuing on, feeling unprepared sometimes helps you feel prepared is the conclusion of what I shared and why I shared it, because I feel like failures or these roadblocks in life are much more important than all the successes that we get, because with success comes more arrogance, overconfidence, and feeling like okay, I got it all and I'll always keep getting it all. But when you actually fail, you learn how to reflect deeper within yourself, and really evaluate everything at a more concrete level. So even if it might take few years for you to come to that clarity or that higher purpose of your being, it is still worth it, because once you have that, everything in this material world will not affect you so much. Because say for example, it's the anxiety with money, or having this running income nowadays. Why is it so necessary? Like, uh, most of us who feel anxious about money actually have ample of savings. I see my house help coming every day, or I see people who do daily wage jobs. They live a rather more free and mentally peaceful life than us, because they know that no matter what, उनके लिए अगर खाना important है, they'll figure some mechanism to feed themselves and their family, and their needs in life are also that way very limited and satisfactory. So as we start to maybe earn a lot in our life, it also multiplies a lot of our material needs, and that's where all these anxieties start coming in, which makes us feel always this compulsion to keep on doing random things but always be in that motion. There is really no rest that people take. There's no between time, as they say, that we take to really take feedback from what all we have done so far and how has it grown us to the way that we are in, and then what do we want to really do next. So being unprepared sometimes will help you feel more clearer in the longer run, because maybe the preparedness that you feel is a clarity may increase the confusion later in your life. And the confusion can come in different varieties. It is not always limited to just your career. Every choices that you make will influence you personally, professionally, and also in a relational way. Like all the relationships that you have in life, they're all very interrelated. So, yeah, the art of being unprepared, I would like to conclude with a very small situational example.
Please.
So, while I was in my college, we used to have a lot of exams. We had a semester system. So, total 10 semesters, may say. We gave multiple exams to get that one degree. And I remember two semester very distinctly. And that's how I narrate the both situations. So, I think in my second semester, um, or maybe fourth. I'm not very sure with the semester, but I do know that that was that one semester which was roughly for 2 to 3 months, and I think I was heavily dull in that semester because I was crazy behind a guy who was ghosting me. So I stopped all my attention in classes, and I was always on like this wanderla of my mind. And that was that one semester we had all the heavy subjects, be it company law, constitution, or property law. Now, these only the ones who will hear and our law students will understand that these are some very tricky subjects to deal with. And in my final exams of that semester, I was unprepared. to an extent that I think for most of my papers, I couldn't even open my books to study. I
Yeah.
did attend the lectures. Maybe unconsciously I was listening to my professors, but there was no conscious
Mm.
preparedness as such for my exams against this seventh semester, wherein we again had some very interesting subjects. So, as a law student, I'm more interested into the substantive laws, uh, dealing with human rights and stuff like that. So, those things excite me more than the corporate side of law does. So, we had all these interesting law subjects where we had all the criminal laws, IPR, human rights, international law, and stuff like that. And I gave my best in that semester, like being like that ideal punctual student, attending all your lectures, preparing notes, and doing all my study thoroughly. So I was technically very prepared in that semester. And I gave my fourth semester as well, feeling on like feeling very light, because I knew that I know nothing, or I'm hardly prepared. So what worse will happen, I might just have some KTs or whatever it is. So I went ahead with a very calm mindset, not bothered about my studies at all. And in that semester, I remember it was the only time, because our college is affiliated to the state university. So all our exams happen externally. So we get some exam centers where we go and give exams. And this was that one center. So ये 10 semesters में से एक ही semester ऐसा था where we were in a particular center which had a very small classroom and a three-seater bench. So basically, all our classmates, three in one row, were sitting together. So it's like somebody sitting just right adjacent to me on my right and
Yeah.
left both. And I
They-
was that middle child. So even if he writes something or she writes something, we all can see through very easily. So it was
Mm.
like the coolest semester to have
Yeah.
against that seventh semester where, being such a prepared and ideal student, I was also a little anxious, I would say, considering that, oh, this time I want to top and I want to like score really well. And we got a very tough center that time. Like that exam center was such wherein in a big classroom, we had limited seating, and one child and the other child had like a gap of a bench. So between two students, there was like an empty bench, and in one bench, you just pick the corner. So basically, no scope to look here and there and do any sort of a copy. Now, I think what happened was in this fourth semester, I copied all the papers blankly. And sometimes when I knew a little of what I had learned in my class, I was actually correcting the one who was making me copy that, hey, I think this is something you should not write like this. And he's like, dude, you have not basically studied and now you are asking to correct the basics that you feel you are right about. So ऐसे कर करके मतलब we used to chat, give papers and come. And I was like, by God's grace, feeling so cool in my fourth semester that without studying, I could write all the papers. That was like the most enough thing for me, because I was really not sure how much will I be able to attempt. And in my seventh semester, I was fighting against the time because I had so much in my head to pour out and write. And it just troubled me in some papers, because again, maybe in one paper, it was like I ended up reading a question wrong, and then I had to rewrite the whole answers in the last 10 to 5 minutes. And in law, you get like some heavy question answers. In our universities, we had like very long answer questions, 20 marks. You blabber for 20 30 pages, wale sorts. Now, when the results come, I still remember these results. When I look at like all my mark sheets, I scored the highest in fourth semester, where I had not just studied at all. And in my seventh semester also, I scored well. But comparing these two with the preparedness and unpreparedness, I think it goes to the fourth semester where I was not prepared. Now, I'm not at all sharing this for others to feel like going in their exams or wherever in their life without knowing what to do is a good thing to do. But the psychology behind this is that when you are not thorough with something, no, you are a little more flexible to a lot of things, because when you become too much prepared about things and outcomes, you become somewhat very rigid also in just getting those things, and that creates certain hopes and expectations which are not very healthy in the longer run, because there is always going to be a possibility either you win or you lose at the most basic level. So it's not ever going to be like if you know your life or you have planned your life in and out, it will really act exactly that way. I mean, for the ones it does, that's great. But even then, there will always be 10 to 20% here and there. So why trying to do things with the flow is sometimes good, or not just being too prepared is good, because it makes you flexible, it gives you a lot less stress, and then ultimately whatever is meant to happen happens, and you create more acceptance in life. So I think these two examples relationally always help me when I enter into those phases of anxiousness while I'm trying to be supremely prepared about something versus, trying to balance myself with not being prepared and also prepared. So the art of being prepared or unprepared, to conclude, basically means that know your life in its totality. It's not like always being very unclear with what you want is good. Because when you know who you are, when you know your true purpose of why you live every day, the other clarities are bound to come, like what you do in your profession or your personal life or in your relational life, they will automatically come. So being open to change, adapting to your situations, and just being flexible to what is and what comes helps you sail through life in a much nicer way and a happier way and a more fulfilling way. So I think that's how I see the art of being unprepared, which basically means to be prepared for whatever is to come. Yeah,
Okay,
that's it.
thank you so much. Let me share with you some of the ideas of yours that resonate with me and add a little bit.
Yeah,
I think you have to be background prepared, but not
yeah,
prepared for the event. Okay. So, for example, I never wrote an outline for my essays. Never. Why should I imprison myself ahead of writing it? I've written 3 books. I never made an outline. No outline. In fact, people would say, "What's your next chapter?" I said, "Who knows? Let me finish this one. I don't even know what's the second part of this chapter. I'm just writing it." So, there, the flexibility, as you pointed out, is not imprisoning yourself from your past. Okay. And if you had asked me in January 2023 that will you be doing a channel for young people in India, I would have said no. I have no such plan. I don't know what are you talking about? What is it? But here I'm doing it. Here I am, because I was not prepared for it. I'd never thought about it, but there were some things in the back of my mind which were floating around. And then one day they came together on their own. Nothing happened as such, but they came together. And here we are. We have this channel. And there was no plan whatsoever. And even you asked me, should I do this? I said, no idea. You do what you want to do. So there was no preparation, nothing. And here we are. It's, uh, let us say, even if I say so it in myself, a quiet, peaceful revolution. It gives young people a chance, as you have talked about, their hopes, aspirations, failures, successes, and they speak about it, as I wrote to you, in the way they want to speak about it, with no time limit. It's all crazy, but here we are. It works. So there are, but at the same time, I'm background prepared, right? It's not that I'm prepared for this. I never thought even 1 minute. I never planned 1 minute. I never looked at the market. I never looked at what's happening. I just said, look, I've woken up with this idea. I'm going to do it. Okay. There's no preparation, nothing. The day I decided to do it, the next day I was doing it. No preparation. And luckily, I had the young people. So that was the preparation, which I did not know at that time, that I had plenty of young people whom I knew in India through electronics, not personal, not family, nothing. I had not taught them, but they knew me and I knew them. So that was a preparation, but it was not preparation for this specific event. People ask me, how do you know? How do you find them? I said, no, I don't find them. They found me. I don't have to find. So that's the preparation. So there has to be some deep preparation. I agree with you there. Deep preparation is needed, but the preparation for the event is not important. Once you have the deep preparation, you can build into your own skill, your own knowledge, your own information, your own network, and then bang, you do something. Okay. And now you mentioned tort. 10 years ago, if somebody had said, Subodh, are you going to work in the tort world? I would have said no. I am a development economist. But what I've been doing for 3 years is, as you know, in any tort case, there is a monetary value for which you are suing on the other side. Someone has to do that calculation. I'm doing it. It's all tort. It's all tort. Personal injury, wrongful firing, breach of contract, such things. These are all part of tort. And you need to understand a little bit of the law, which I had understood through an article in 1985. What is strict liability, what is negligence, and all this. We had written an article on oil spills, and on that we had understood many of these things. And so that was the preparation in 1985. And then suddenly the economic preparation was there. And then somebody said, can you do this calculation? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And here we are. It's in a tort world. Who knows what's in the tort world unless you've taken a course in tort? I never took a course in tort. So, but I was prepared. So, okay, let me stop. Let's see your reaction.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like, when I was doing this monologue of sharing, looking at your face, I felt like, am I just talking rubbish? But it's great that there's some resonance, and you just framed it in a very nice, small, sweet sentence that, being background prepared and not event prepared, which actually is the essence of what even I was maybe trying to share through my life experiences and journey. And yes, when I now think of it, like doing that in time reflection, I think there was this one thing in my statements which came time and again, that whatever I picked, I think it was always to uplift people and self. So I think that is my very deep rooted preparedness in life, that I will not engage myself where there is no change that I'm creating, where I cannot see a substantial change. Those are not the places for me. So that is in a way being prepared, knowing that, okay, what is your purpose? So, purpose now, this is not exactly the higher purpose that I'm talking about. Once I really find that, I think there will not be a need to do the jobs and everything, also. You will feel more settled in life. But yes, being background ready has always helped me also, because event ready is something that you cannot anytime predict also. Like predictability is a factor that you always associate when you want to be prepared about outcomes. And outcomes are not always predictable, right? So the more you get into that motion of being prepared for a particular outcome, I think you deviate from your higher purpose also. And that's where all this anxiousness comes, where you feel clueless about things, or you just start feeling that, okay, you're doing a lot but not getting much out of it. So, something else that also comes now in my mind is how to learn to be grateful for the most minimalist things in life, like this conversation that I'm having with sir right now. Now, there's a lot that I learned when I re-listen this recording again, and I'm sure like there will be things that I'll find to be grateful for. And one thing that I will accept on the record that I'm really grateful for today is choosing science in my plus two. Although at that time, and also in my recent past, I always like keep telling mama that, hey, you did this mistake by making me choose. And whenever there's like some small setback coming in my life, I always go back to that first so-called choice I made. But I think if I had not picked science, I wouldn't be so logical, rational, and precise in my work. And that's how I developed interest in law as well. Now, even though I'm not practicing the fundamentals of science in my profession, But science is basically a principle of life. Like everything around us is just nothing but maths and physics. There's always some part of science we use unconsciously and unknowingly. So that's where the word conscious learning or unconscious learning comes in. Not everything that you realize and practice by knowing is something that you have learned and ingrained. There's always a lot of things stored in your unconscious, which we call as the meta in the scientific world, which is not always visible to us, but it also helps us in all the decision making that we do on a day to day basis. So that is again being prepared, right? Your life is the biggest example of being very background ready, like Sir said, or background prepared. That's how you become resilient with some small wound to say corona type of a disease, because there is some sort of a preparedness that you have built through this journey of life. But yes, I love how you summarized how to be prepared and where to be prepared. But
Well,
yeah.
okay. Anything else you want to add here?
Um, I think no. I mean, if you want to share something, is where I'll get my insights from. Now, mere end se material is kind of exhausted
Well, okay.
because I
What
was not
advice would
prepared.
you have for young people?
Okay. I recently unlearned that we should not advise or suggest until last. So I'll give a very general few life statements or life mantras that help me time and again. I mean, it's open to everyone who listens, and they can take their own meanings and learnings out of it. One thing that I connect a lot in my workspace where I'm trying to lead people in terms of like where there are people dependent on me or I'm working in teams. There is this small quote of Tichatna which says that to help a flower grow, you must understand her nature. And I think anybody who works with different people, be it adults, children, they are all lives at the very basic. So, whatever you try to do with such lives, do understand the context from where they come from. Because once you just know who they are, you understand uh, their nature, you will exactly know how to help them. Because otherwise, anything you try to do for them will not actually become any useful to them until and unless it is contextualized. So, try to contextualize all your actions as well as inactions. Second thing which comes from most of the conversations that we did is try to have between time. I think structure your time in a way where you definitely take time to rest. Between time, how we like say or process is just a time where you choose to rest. Now, resting does not mean sleeping on the couch watching Netflix all the day. Of course, you should do that. It's fun. It gives you some relaxation. But rest in the way that you try to do things that you are not able to do in your mundane routine. Maybe pick a hobby which is long lost. Go
Mm.
travel. I think in India, travel is the cheapest and the most altering thing that you can do. Be it attending someone's wedding se leke, going on a vacation with family, to just doing some road trips with your friends, or just picking your backpack for the people who want to and explore. Because there's a lot you learn through travel about self and others. And somewhere it definitely helps you in figuring that longer trajectory of your life. Third, for all the ones who are studying or in college or preparing for some competitive exams, I think this is something we all would have heard. Try to not compete with anyone, not even yourself. We are told na that you are your only competition. वो भी मत सोचो. I mean, try to just do what makes sense to you. If you feel that that competitive exam you're preparing for, even it's for an MBA, doesn't make sense to you, I would say just leave it, pick something else. Because when you try to make sense of things which really don't make sense, you are kind of pressurizing and prisoning yourself into a way of life that is not meant for you. So try to let go of things as much as you can. Even if there is a small misfit you find, leave it, because that will bring you closer to something that is truly meant for you. So yeah, I think these three things are something which come to my mind for now.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjana. It was very interesting listening to you. Most people are more conformist than you are. Most young people I've talked to hundreds of them, are more conformist than you are, but still, it was very interesting to hear everything that you are saying. And let's end it here, unless you have something to say. But if you don't, let's end it here. And to the viewers, I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. So let's say bye. Okay.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Yeah. Bye.